So, all right, everyone, we have Kit Walker with us today, who's an explorer in music and consciousness dedicated to uncovering and sharing the links between frequency and spiritual awakening. He's devoted much of his time and attention to the alchemy of human participation in the planetary awakening. This has led him through many diverse spiritual traditions and meditation practices, as well as an in-depth study of astrology. His teaching is based on how to bring the practice of music into a total life art, a yoga which trains and transforms body, mind, and spirit. So, Kit, the first question really is, how did you get started, and where did your passion come from?
You mean for music or yeah?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like a lot of people, I started playing when I was around 7. You know, there was a piano in the house, so on and so forth. I took piano lessons and everything. But I also don't want to go any further without introducing Mariana, because
yeah, sure.
no,
yeah.
You know about her too. She's very heavy as well.
Cool.
You know, I pretty much had kind of a standard musical upbringing. Studied piano and then pipe organ later when I was a teenager, and I went into music school as a pipe organist, but quickly realized I didn't want to be working in churches my whole life. And so I got into jazz then and became, you know, over the years, kind of a professional musician that could play in whatever situation, you know. And I don't know. I mean, it's a lot to list all the little details of what I went through. But when I was 25, I met a woman in Boston, a music teacher who had been like the teacher of Keith Jarrett and Herbie Hancock and a bunch of jazz pianists that I really admired. And so I jumped at the chance to study with her. I've written about it some on my blog, but it was like, as well as a powerful musical experience, it was also kind of a spiritual initiation for me, because I think this lady was enlightened, basically. I didn't have the language at the time or whatever, but I know that when I went into her studio, there was like an energy there that kind of got me going, like in a way that nothing had before. And she was she was in her 70s, I believe, or maybe even 80s when I studied with her, and had gone through an experience when she was in her 60s where she died and come back to life. Wow. She was dead for 40 minutes. And so and when she came back, she was kind of like there was something had changed, you know.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, and so it was the day I met her was very fateful. It was my birthday. I know that Pluto was exactly conjunct my sun that day too, you know, which, if you know anything about astrology, that's like a major transit. Pluto moves extremely slow.
Wow. Yeah.
And I knew that even at that moment. I knew, I got to act on this right now, because the day before I met her, I had never even heard of her. I heard of her the night before I met her. And I went straight to Boston. I looked her up in a phone book. I went and rang the bell. And the first thing she said to me was, "Oh, this must be fate." It was a thing like that, you know. It was like a synchronistic meeting. But anyway, she also had this, what she did for me was she had this piano technique, which had been passed down through all these German composers and Russian and whatever, you know. There was a lot of famous names on this list that had... including Liszt, that had used this piano technique, which involved using the breath you know, things like the arms completely weightless. You're not using muscles to play. I mean, all this is like radical stuff. I mean, what do you mean you're playing without muscles? It's the chi that's like playing the music, right?
Right.
And so for me, it was like meeting a Zen master, and she gave me this koan, you know, which is exactly that: how to play without using your muscles. How to have your arms completely not there, you know, and it all comes from the hara. You know, it's like a miniature karate for the piano, where each finger is like the.
Right.
And the moment that you play the note, you're gone. It's kind of like the way you're gone when you sneeze, right? It's this moment where you're not there.
Yeah.
then you're back. And so we would practice very slowly. I practiced one note a lot. And just to get this feeling of when the note is sounding, you're not there. And so then playing the scales and everything, you're constantly working this too, of like in between each note, you're breathing, and then when the note hits, you're gone. And so when you start playing, what?
It's almost like a meditative state that you enter.
Exactly. Yeah. And one of the things that she talked about in the practice was which is blowing my mind right now, is this thing of to go into the midbrain when you're playing, to not be up here in the frontal lobe, you know, lobes rather. It's a dualistic kind of thing. And just recently, we've run across this work by this guy called Dr. Pillai, who's talking a lot about the midbrain and to allow your attention to release out of this whole cerebral system into your midbrain, which is, it's not divided, it's one, and it's connected to infinity, basically. Now, Madame Shaloff, that was my teacher, this lady, she didn't explain any of that to me, but she did talk about going into the midbrain when you're playing. And now that I'm discovering this, I'm seeing the connection back then and going, wow, this is like a full circle somehow, because I'm recognizing that the midbrain it's you know, people are calling it the reptile brain. And I kind of get the feel, you know, and it's fight or flight.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's a thing like that. I think it's a kind of a misnomer, and I think it may be actually perhaps done on purpose so that people don't connect with this. You know, the whole way the society is set up is designed to pull your attention into the frontal lobes, into this dualistic thing.
Yeah.
Like for example, the elections. You know, it's like, oh, Hillary or Trump, you know, it's like this thing where it's like everybody likes football, you know, oh, do I go to that side or that side? We go back and forth, you know, everybody, and all the things that get a lot of money are things like that, where you're pulled into your frontal lobes and you're not connected with your primal self, which is at the midbrain, and how it connects into the heart, I feel, and even into the hara. So anyway, so now I'm, and this guy, Dr. Pillai, has a very simple practice to activate that part of your brain. It's simply to sing on a note. I mean, I don't think you could find a more simple musical practice than that. It's
no. So it's like the om.
Yeah.
Om.
It's the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
But the M part of the Om, it's the only consonant we can sing besides N with our mouth closed. You know, everything else is a vowel that we're going to be singing. And Mariana has a whole thing that she does with that, which we can talk about in a minute. But anyway, so there's this very simple practice of just singing on one note, and it activates the midbrain. We've been practicing it for a few weeks now, just to kind of see what it's like, and I got to say, it's amazing, like to feel as the attention like releases out of what we're calling, well, we speak Spanish here, we call it the casco, which means helmet. You know, it's like all of our attention is up in the helmet in this dualistic thing, you know, and that's by design. That's what, you know, because this is very programmable, this whole part of the brain,
and distractible.
And what?
Distractible.
Yes, exactly. Distractible. Yeah, you're pulled out. I think that the key to leaving the matrix is simply to bring your attention out of the casco into the midbrain, which is it's the primal brain. It's you know, the reptilian brain, but it's the primal brain. It knows about survival, and it's not fight. To me, it's not fight or flight. That's kind of like a dualistic concept. It's simply 360-degree awareness. And as this guy, Dr. Pillai, explains, when you really get into that part of your brain and really allow attention to rest there, then it breaks out of the skull altogether and connects with infinity, basically.
Sure. Or
so,
like Rupert Sheldrake would put it, the morphic resonance field.
Yeah. It's like an antenna, you know, and it's connected in with our heart too. And so, and that's another kind of area of well, there's this whole thing about the heart and the what's called the sinoatrial node, which is the place in the heart where the heartbeat originates. It's like the tiniest little electrical impulse there, and that's what makes the heartbeat happen. You know, it's
Yeah.
like some kind of electrical impulse that's coming from God knows where. But there's a whole spiritual teaching about that point in the heart being our connection to infinite consciousness. You know, and so this one teacher I had talked about how there's a knot there called like KNOT, called the causal knot, which when cut, then you're released into infinite awareness. And so I see this. It's like the filament in a light bulb going from the heart to the midbrain. That the current comes in, it goes through this circuit, and then it goes out again back to infinity, and it actually lights up like just like in a light bulb. When you turn on a light bulb, the filament lights up.
Sure.
And so I'm really seeing that. Well, it's interesting just connecting back to Madame Charlotte back when I was 25 years old, the whole thing about the midbrain, and seeing how this connects into the whole creative process now. It's completely fascinating. I mean, it's still really new for me, but I think I feel like you know what's going on with music now. I think we need to we need a reboot or something, because to me the music thing is just getting into this. It's in this time loop where people are just rehashing and repeating and.
Absolutely, I wanted to talk to you about this. Yeah, because the modern music, let's say the commercial music. The most popular music, for want of a better term, is well, you know, there's all sorts of things going on with it. They've changed the frequency of it from 432 to 450 hertz. The words, which hold great power in any song, are very similar all the time, you know, about attachment and letting, and not, you know, not about love, not real love, not pure love. It's about fear, you know, and yeah, being let go or left alone, and that kind of. So, what's your view on all of that?
Well. It's interesting because, you know, we're part of what we're doing is we're making songs, you know, and Mariana's like a very gifted songwriter. Like her main language is Spanish, but here in Uruguay she's quite well known for her songs, and they're always the lyric is always like of a positive nature about you know, awakening and that kind of thing. And she really, I mean, she can tell you about it, you know, but she refuses to sing lyrics that don't have, you know, what she sings is really important to her. She's not willing to sing just any lyric, you know.
Right. Yeah.
You want to say something more about that?
well, I'm sorry about my English. It's not as good as I would like to, but.
No problemo.
No problem. Wow, you speak Spanish.
No, I'm sure about the power of sound. So the power of the words, you know, and how a word is like, it can be a spell. You say,
a spell, like
chisel,
like casting a spell.
You can spell with a word, no, and they do it. They know exactly. They know exactly that. How humans have an incredible imagination, and how we create with imagination all what is going on. So, but we don't know that.
No, we are being, right?
Yeah, whereas some of us are awakening to that thing that we can create everything. But they know how we work. I mean, well, the ones that are ruling this
control system.
yeah, which is also us, no? Because if we take this casco that he was telling, you know, and we go to that midbrain, well, those that are ruling don't exist anymore in some way, you know? Because they don't have any power. We are God. So singing, I feel that it's important what we say, and also the words are very contaminant, no? So I try to go. I'm interested in the etymology. You say
Etymology, yeah.
to go to the what did they mean when they were created? If we can know that, no? But and it's incredible. They don't mean what we say, you know. So wow, we're saying this, but we don't even know what it means, you know. But we are putting that outside, and everything is connected. So
Exactly.
with one word, we can be creating who knows what, you know. So I'm very careful with that. I have also been a keyboard and a singer in other bands of other people for long, and at some point I didn't want to sing some lyrics. Yes, but I don't want to sing that. Or all of my songs that were more in the mind too. And whatever. What I like more now is leading these singing groups where people can find their own voice, and it's incredible what happens. Really, I mean, and everybody has had some kind of spell in their childhood where somebody told them that they could not sing, or they were not good, or you're good for this but not for that, and it's not true.
No.
It's not true.
No, inside each and every one there's a unique expression begging to come out, right?
Exactly.
And as you say, words are very, very powerful. They're magic, and they do cast spells. And a lot of people, I mean, myself, I'm English, and when I was younger, you know, going through school, certain things that I enjoyed maybe to do back then, like dancing, were kind of danced out of me because of the way the system was, you know, and it wasn't encouraged. It wasn't something that made you cool or part of the in crowd, you know. So I gave them up, and then later, it's hard to get yourself back to that. You know, you have to kind of release all of that fear.
Exactly.
Sorry, carry on.
Well, I was just going to say, so that's what we've been doing here lately is, well, we teach some workshops, and it's mainly Mariana's thing of singing, you know, and we're experimenting with kind of a new way to teach music, I think. It's not anything fancy. It's actually something more simple. I would call it community-based, and we do it in circle. But we're not just singing. We're also working with scales and with rhythms and trying to introduce people in a way that they can participate in music because, you know, everybody says, you know, music is healing. But what's really healing about it is when you actually do it yourself. Right. When you learn it yourself and you do it, it's like going to a yoga class. It is a yoga. It is a healing art. And what's happened with the commercial thing is it's turned into entertainment.
Yeah.
And entertainment is distraction, right?
Yeah.
That's what it means, really. And so, like, and it's got this hierarchical model too, where there's all of us with no talent down here, and then there's that big guy up there that's amazing, you know. And so, and sometimes he's amazing, but sometimes he's not. And it's a lot like politics, you know. You get like a guy up there who you're going like, how the hell did this guy get up there? Or this woman? I'm thinking of two people in particular.
Yeah, I can't begin to imagine who you might be talking about.
Is that the best we can come up with out of all the people in the world? No. And the music business is like that, you know. And
sure.
And so, you know, one of the things we've been noticing lately too is this whole thing of the whole phenomenon in the 60s that went on, where all of a sudden the music industry kind of took off and these people became larger than life and everything. And somehow we just sort of thought, oh, wow, it's like, I guess this is a new thing. Certain people get really famous. We don't know why. When actually these think tanks were behind all this, and they decided who was going to be a star, and they pushed forward these agendas, and it's all social engineering. Even the Beatles, you know, that's what's like so kind of weird about it, because I was a total Beatles fan, and I know tons of people are, and it's something about those songs that are genius, but like they were all connected in with this Tavistock Institute, which has been around since I don't know when, and they've been deciding every social trend that we have, the hippies and the and the punks and the, you name it, you know, all of a sudden these words come into the social vernacular, and you don't, and nobody thinks, well, where did that word come from? You know, it's like all of a sudden, you know, but you see it all of a sudden, this is the latest style in the fashion magazines and so on and so forth. Yeah. So we're all being just, you know, and the music is the same way, but people refuse to give up on their 60s music and their hippie ideal, you know. The problem is they don't see how, you know, there was a genuine awakening going on in the 60s, and they don't really see how it got steered off the road and parked in a parking lot. Yeah. And everybody dropped their beats and got a haircut and went and got a good job and had the family and the mortgage, and then they became computer people. And I mean, I'm in that crowd, you know, and then a bunch of us got sidetracked into cults, you know, and we got kind of brainwashed in this new age thing, which says we never question anything, and if you get angry, then you've got an attitude, and you know, if you see what's going on, then you're just a paranoid whatever, you know, because all the social engineering is kind of designed to get people into this thing where everybody polices their friends, you know, like
everybody polices each other, yeah, and anything that steps outside of that is marginalized and demonized and so on.
Yeah, and that includes, or it's especially is the thing of like your infinite self. You know, when you start to connect with your infinite self, the police are in your family, they're in your friends and everything. Who do you think you are? You know, it's like, you know, and, you know, we've been having a lot of that lately. And you finally have to just go, you know, anybody that's not going to encourage me to be my infinite self, it just cannot be my friend. You know, it's as simple as that. Yeah. And that narrows it down a lot. It's kind of like when you're going shopping and you know you only want a red shirt, you can like forget about all the other shirts, you know, and just look for the red one, you know.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think a lot in my life I've seen that as a very big thing. You know, for example, I was unemployed for a while in England, and a lot of people who are, you know, I still classify as friends. I'm a loyal person. I'd always be there if they need me, that kind of thing. But in that moment of being with them, they're just, oh, isn't it time you got a job and stuff? I'm trying to figure out who my infinite self is here. I don't want to be same as everyone else. What is normal? You know, like it's something that, who agreed on it? Anyway, who agreed on what normal is?
Oh, I know. That's what the whole thing with voting, I'm trying to get through to people is like, you know, it's like, do you realize you don't have to play this game? You know, it's like, you see that two shit sandwiches, no matter which way you go down, you're just going to be eating shit. So, but like you're there like, which one do I choose? I hate them both. You know, it's like, you don't have to play.
Two tunnels, left and right, both of them end up at the slaughterhouse.
Yeah, and so it's time to drop out of it. You know, this frontal cortex is causing all the trouble. Yeah. We were watching a video by this guy, Dr. Pillai, last night, where he was talking about how what is it? The ignorance. Ignorance, it starts here and it goes into the eyeballs. Ignorance is contained in the eyeballs. Yeah. You know, it's like a film through which you see everything that completely clouds the issue.
Yeah.
Everything is so much more simple than what people are making it. You know, like, well, what would we do without government? Well, what is it about do not harm that you do not understand? That's the only law that we need.
Absolutely.
And if people can't get that, the only people that need to be governed are the people that don't get that. But people are programmed to not get that. Yeah. You know, it's the whole thing is a hoax.
Yeah, it's a dreadful hoax.
Yeah, dreadful. But I do feel hopeful that it's on its way down. You know, it's.
Yeah, let's get on to that. Let's get on to what your long-term vision is for the future, and what your role is at the moment in facilitating this awakening that I think we're all aware is surfacing and coming to the fore.
Yeah, well, I mean, for me, it's like because I'm a musician, among other things. You know, we both are. We're you know, inclined to keep working in this context because, you know, it's amazing. Music is amazing, but like I think it needs to kind of be rebooted. And I wrote this article on my blog called "The Death and Resurrection of Music," and I talked a little about what I'm calling Music 2.0. And I think what we got to do, and whether no matter what level of music we're at, is just to come back to square one, which is this simple thing of silence, really. Like, the musicians are forgetting the silence part because it's nothing, right? Oh yeah, silence, no problem. I got to work on all these notes, like, yeah, silence is no problem, But then I say, well, okay, let's see you stop your mind for 1 minute. You know what I mean? Can you do it? I'm encouraging people to just go inside and see. Can you really just go into complete silence? Because, I'm not seeing it. Some people can, but there's a lot of people that can't. And musicians are not exempt from that. They're no different than anybody else. And so I think of the silence as like it's the canvas on which the painter paints, And if you have no silence, you got no canvas. So it's like a bird with one wing trying to fly. It's not going to get far. And that's what I'm hearing in the music. A lot of it, not all of it, because there's some amazing, brilliant talents out there in the world too. They're just amazing, and they're coming in younger than ever too. So like, I'm very encouraged of the new thing that's coming up, but I think people need to learn how to appreciate music more. They need to be able to tell the difference between someone like that and someone who's twisting a couple knobs on a synthesizer. Or I mean, like, they just don't get it. And the reason they don't get it is because there's no more music in schools, like, they never tried it is basically what it's about. They don't get it because they never tried it. And because somebody who's good at it makes it look completely effortless, because that's what happens when you get good at it. It becomes completely effortless. But you're not seeing the hours and the months and the years that person sat there at his instrument or with his singing or whatever, or writing the music, going through the process, learning the language. It's a vast and amazing language.
Yeah.
That we're using like 3% of. You know what I mean?
It's like infinite in itself, the musical language.
Yeah. It's sacred geometry, and also just the sheer vibration of the tones, when you start to hear inside those, you can go off into some amazing places that, when you listen to pop music, it's just not happening,
No.
And that's a whole other issue, the whole thing of the commercial world and what it has done to music. Because we need to connect a few dots there too, like the world of commerce, the uniform commercial code, that, and we all participate in this in the form of our straw man, our name in all capital letters.
Sure.
Sign your license and your bank account, your birth certificate, and blah, blah, blah. That we are carrying around this little mini corporation with us, which is our name in all capital letters. And that corporation is acting, is what's connecting in with the corporate world, which we're so against corporations, but we don't realize that we're carrying around a little corporation with us. And every time we sign a traffic ticket, or every time we pay a bill, or every time we get our license or whatever, we're signing our name, which is our essence, our being. We're making a contract with that.
In their language, it's our consent.
Yes, exactly. It's our consent. And so then if you understand commerce from that level, then you start to think, well, okay, then how does commerce and music fit together? Because and so what I see is that there's this slow thing that's happened where as commerce took over music, which really happened kind of in the 50s and 60s when music could become a product. Before recording and electricity, there wasn't really a way to make it into a product, but then it was the perfect product. It was kind of like, oh, you can just make duplicates of it. You only have to do it once, and you can make thousands of them, and you can sell them, and you can sell them cheap because millions of people will buy them and that kind of thing. So music became like a product, and it entered into the commercial realm, and then you watch the quality of the music just kind of going, you know, the 80s and then the 90s, and then the DJs come and it gets more and more synthetic and kind of like cut and paste and no melody, and everybody thinks they can just press a few buttons on a thing and they're a musician all of a sudden. They've got a record player up in front of like, you know, thousands of people, and people go and hear somebody play records, you know, like that's a DJ, you know. It's like, I mean, they do some cool shit and they have some amazing lights and all this stuff, but they're not playing music. They're not musicians, you know. But people, because they didn't have to learn music in school, they look at that and they think, oh, well, that sounds really good. And, you know, those people, say it's like there's no discrimination between that and somebody who's actually spent their life learning to play.
Yeah.
And so like that's kind of harming the music too, because the music, if there's not quality, if there's not intelligence in the listening part, the audience, then the musicians are not challenged to kind of keep up to their, you know, highest potential.
Yeah.
If the people are just kind of liking whatever, then they'll go, oh, well, I can get away with whatever. So yeah, I guess the selfies of me playing the gig are more important than me actually practicing. That kind of stuff. So that's like what we're looking at. Is like, okay, well, we got to go back to square one. And so this midbrain thing for us has been a missing link. It's this thing of, okay, what's the most basic music practice? Well, it's to make the first sound you ever made in your life, ma, you know, mama. Probably that was the first sound you made, and then to just sing it on one note, and to release yourself out of all the doing and the thinking and I'm not sure, but I think, you know, my feeling is that when we get into this midbrain, learning becomes a whole other thing. You know, it's not so complicated. You know, you could listen to a piece of music, and if you're in the right state, it would be imprinted in your consciousness in a way that it would become part of you. Yeah. It's like data input into a computer in a way, you know. What you take in comes out. If you take in a bunch of garbage, you're going to put out a bunch of garbage.
Right. Yeah. Makes total sense.
Yeah. So, I mean, so that's kind of what we're trying to do with these little classes we're doing. It's just a local thing. It's totally grassroots. We're operating on a shoestring. But we have this vision of a sanctuary, actually, a place that would have a large meeting place with sound system and recording studio and stage, and where groups could be done, classes, workshops, concerts, and a place, a community-based place outside the city where there are living spaces that people can come and kind of go back to nothing, you know, like people could come there and practice meditation, release their whole, life in the system, work on their music or whatever their creative thing would be in a space where there's a lot of space for just contemplation too. And kind of like an artistic halfway house for people trying to leave the matrix. I mean, I think we need places like this, because there is no support for people like that. That's what we're realizing as we're trying to do it.
Well, Kit, on that note, we're here in Holland at the Synergy Hub in Rotterdam, and that's kind of what we are at the moment. Is a transitionary movement towards the new paradigm, away from the systems in place, creating new social architecture and environmental studies. We've got new technology on the horizon. And all of these movements and eco-villages and stuff that people are familiar with coming together and creating new systems entirely from scratch.
That's fantastic, really.
Yeah. And
we were checking out the new map thing a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it kind of reminded me of when I first started hearing about HyperCard with the Macintosh. I don't know, maybe it was before you were born even. But it was the thing when you got, I think it was like the Mac Plus or maybe one after that, you got this thing called HyperCard, which showed you how to make links and everything. You link to your address book or whatever. It was before the internet. And I was thinking, wow, that's really cool. but how could that possibly be applied? You know what I mean? And then like, and now look at the hyperlinks thing. It's just over the top how fast it connects everybody. So I kind of had the feeling about NewMap that it was a little bit like that, you know, that I couldn't really see quite because maybe I don't understand the whole world, how the potential of connection, but I could see that it had that same kind of possibility or whatever.
Yeah, definitely. I think the possibilities are literally infinite with NewMap. Right now, it's in a kind of a prototype stage, so it's getting closer and closer and closer to be out there in the world for people. And at that point, yeah, I mean, you know, I for years now have been kind of, please wake up, everyone, you know, but.
We're like that every day. Sometimes I'm like, come on, people, you can do it. You can do it. Just kind of the empty sky or whatever, you know?
Exactly, you know, and then with this technology, it actually has the ability to change the way you think. When you interface with it, when you use it, it changes the way you think to a much more harmonious way, like nature thinks.
Yeah.
It's colons and fractals, and it's designed like nature is designed. So we've got some genius types here, and you know, you're always more than welcome to come and visit. Yourself and Mariana would be more than welcome. Another note that we wanted to discuss with you is that we're trying to arrange something called Global Freedom Fest. I'm sure you've been talking to JJ about this. Yeah. So obviously, we'd love to invite you to be a participant at the Global Freedom Fest. Obviously, we're looking for sovereign land all over the world in different countries. So hopefully in 2018, 2019, whichever year it is that it goes on, there will be an area near you where we have a stage or a festival.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, maybe you want to say something about that. I don't know, the whole thing about the sanctuary and how it could be in different places, and just our vision for.
Well, you know, we met, I don't know how many years ago, like
it's
6 or 7,
almost 7.
in Barcelona. I was teaching in Spain these workshops that I was doing. And I wrote something about the Sanctuary of Art and Consciousness. That was not the name, but he wrote the same thing when we didn't know each other, you know. So it's exactly the same. It's absolutely the same. I stopped for a year and a half playing music and even hearing music. I went to the jungle in Ecuador and made some ceremonies with people there and stay with them, and I got this information that I had to stop, just completely stop. And these places are needed, and they can be in we were looking for one in Spain near Montserrat, but we didn't have a visa to stay there. Hear me. So I went to the US for my first time, but in the US it was impossible. So
US is not
impossible. So we came here, which I grew up here. And well, there's some things here that still you can do that you cannot do in the north, you know. So there's still something that maybe it's because we grew up in dictatorship. There was a dictatorship here for 12 years, so we had to manage the artists to say things and not be caught in prison, and you know, so creativity comes very very good in those circumstances, you know. So you learn how to be creative, and how to survive too in some way, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and here voting is obligatory. You get a fee if you don't do it, you know? But we don't do it. I don't do it. If I have to pay the fee, I do it if I need it, you know. But we are looking for those connections, and I think it's coming the time, because I see people like you, and there's tons of people, tons. Around here is unbelievable.
There are many people waking up.
Yeah, you know, I was in contact with Michael Tellinger long ago because I offered him to translate his book into Spanish.
Wow.
And I did some chapters, but then we couldn't go further. But when I saw what he was doing about a world without money, yeah, of course we don't do it. We don't need it. here's already happening.
Yeah.
We don't call it Ubuntu, but it's already happening around here between the people,
Yeah.
And so I can see the connections. Sometimes it's hard because lots of information come in English. So we cannot, the languages, is this limitation of the languages is hard.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be a link some ways, but my English is not perfect. So he helps me a lot.
My Spanish too is.
We help a lot, no, but it takes time. It takes time, and
everything we have on our websites or whatever we have translated into both, and even that's like
it's challenging.
Sure.
But
this is another function of NewMap that will make things a lot easier, because they will, everything can be translated into every language.
Oh, fantastic!
Yeah. But you know what? When I made some of these ceremonies with the Shuar people in Ecuador, after 2 or 3 ceremonies that we did together, the first days they were making jokes about us, and we couldn't laugh because we didn't understand the jokes. But after 2 or 3 days of taking medicine with them, we could understand their language.
Yeah.
So then I was, how does this happen? And so I talked with them and said, yes, if I go to Germany, I can understand them, even if I didn't learn it. Mm-hmm. And I'm connecting with this midbrain that he was talking about.
This brain.
That is the key.
Dr. Pillai calls it the brain of miracles. So
if we go there, we don't even have to. I am talking with you as I know what you're thinking. I mean, we're on the same page. You are a brother. I don't have any doubt about that.
And I think you mentioned between the pair of you in one aspect that, things are being kind of brought back to their essence and the simplicity.
Yeah.
So everyone that's waking up, we're all on a very similar wavelength. So your story about meeting, and you'd written basically the same paper each, right? Before you met.
Yeah, we had the same vision. Yeah,
it's the same here. We've got people coming from everywhere who've got very similar ideas and ways to express themselves, because it's a unifying of everybody, but we're all still very diverse. This is what I think people don't understand when you try and talk about how peace on earth is very possible. They say, oh, but utopia, no, it's not possible. But even if it was, wouldn't it be boring because everyone would be the same? No, not at all. No one likes to have sex in the same positions. No one likes to paint the same drawings. No one likes to play the same music. No one, the list is endless. And everyone would have the time to do what came to them, their passion, their desires.
Yeah, that's related kind of to what I've been doing with astrology, because that's a whole other thing that I do. And because it really, at one point it struck me that even the enlightened beings that I met, they still exhibited their qualities of their chart, like Osho. I got to spend like over a year with him, like every day. And he, he was a Sagittarius. He was an enlightened being, but he still was a Sagittarius, like funny, and just I don't know, a brilliant human, one of the most brilliant humans I've ever met. Literally brilliant, like you're in the room with it. I was like, whoa. But anyway, so I started, feeling like, wow, well, maybe, it's not like when you get enlightened, you get free from your astrology and then you're just like, whatever, a faceless, nameless presence or whatever. It's like your astrology chart is your unique expression, And when you start putting, and if you're in the, well, I'm calling it 0 point astrology, because if you're in the 0 point, then your astrology chart just harmonizes itself into a coherent whole. Yeah. It's like when you strike a Tibetan bowl or something, there's this resonance, it has a complex harmonic, and yours is unique to you,
Exactly, yeah, everyone's.
But when you meet others who are in the 0 point as well, we're just drawn together and we fit together like this. You know what I mean? It's, what you like to do really complements what I like to do, and what she likes to do and he likes to do fits in with that too. It's like, because you're not in this, because ego is up here. It's in this conflict all the time. Like, yeah, but I need my space, and you gotta, all this kind of stuff. Because people aren't respecting each other's space. It's a whole kind of thing that happens together. But like when people drop into the 0 point, their unique pattern comes out. That's what the astrology chart shows, and it shows your gifts. It shows the best ways to offer them. It shows an amazing amount of stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, and in terms of what you're saying, when we come together, it's like a cooperation thing that happens. That's based in love, really.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's the fundamental. It's the releasing of fear and entering the love state.
Yeah.
The possibilities are endless. They are. And we're having fun. Everyone here is, starting to pick up musical instruments. You'll be very glad to hear.
Oh, cool.
And jamming, and again, this is a way to learn. You don't need to go to school to learn. You don't.
Music it's an oral tradition, really. Long before there were schools and everything, and that's something about the 440 thing too. It's like, what happened before 440 existed? There's all these people in Africa, whoever, who play instruments and they don't use tuners. It's like, or maybe they do now, but I don't think that's such a big issue, the whole 440 thing,
Right.
There's something, I think the bigger issue is the whole social engineering aspect of music.
Sure.
Because it's pretty ubiquitous in all the music that we're buying now and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
On one level or another, so.
Yeah.
I forget where I was going with that because because I did want to make a point, but.
Well, you mentioned that you brought up the 440 thing.
Oh yeah, well, it was before that. What was I saying?
Unfortunately, I haven't got instant playback.
I think this is more than half an hour. He said half an hour.
Yeah, anytime you want to stop is okay, but personally, I can go on and on about whatever.
Yeah,
I was talking about just about astrology and how your unique pattern, and it fits with everybody else, and so I'm interested to explore astrology more in that sense, and I'm interested in the connections with it, with music, and with with this whole circuitry that goes in the body.
Yeah,
we have it's like a vehicle that we're navigating here, and I feel like when you connect in with this whole axis between the midbrain and the heart, I'm calling it the heart of the brain and the brain of the heart. The brain of the heart is this sinoatrial node where the heartbeat originates. And it's where I feel it's where consciousness enters the body, and and when it's released, it becomes a current of bliss. It's bliss, and it rises into the brain, and then you go out to infinity. Okay, so this is like a little spaceship that you've got that you can navigate, and when you get into the midbrain, the secrets start to reveal themselves. I don't even know how to explain it, but even in just a couple of weeks of playing around with this, just singing, and then just sitting in meditation afterwards, it's like, whoa, this is deep. We have a whole new, and also this thing of seeing that this reality we're in is just the thinnest veneer in the kind of atomic structure over this amazing geometrical, fractal thing that's going on, that we're just navigating it through I like the word psychonaut, actually. So it's like we're kind of navigating through in these amazing vehicles we have. They're amazing.
They are incredible. We're not designed to be sedentary beings sat on couches watching the TV all afternoon.
No. Everybody got sucked up into the, because the controllers, they don't have this connection to source that we have, and they're extremely jealous about it, and they want to take it for themselves, and so they have to get our consent in a way that we don't understand what we're doing, because if we understood what we're doing, we would never consent. Because we need to consent to them drawing our imagination energy, and because they need us to paint the picture of their nightmare that they want to. Mm-hmm. And so it is a very revolutionary act to simply withdraw your energy from your Costco into into your midbrain, down into your heart. Just feel the ultimate potentiality of your silence. You know, it's like it's fucking staggering, really. Like, you know, and from there we can, you know, this is like a magnet that starts to pull you. It's like a compass. It pulls you in the right direction, you know, and you become more like the passenger, because, and you can enjoy the ride more when somebody else is driving, you know. That you don't have to pay attention to the road so much. You can kind of enjoy the scenery and stuff, you know.
Yeah, that's a beautiful.
That's where I see us going. But you know, I admit I go through many days where I feel totally lost, and you know,
it's still birth pains, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's been very intense, like things in the body, and then breakthroughs. You know, we're all here. We're transmuting the whole thing, you know, and
there's bound to be a lot of this, a lot of peaks and troughs, you know.
Yeah.
And it's good to find that kind of middle path and float along. Enjoy the scenery. And if you look over there, there's a lot of madness. There's a lot of beauty.
And your compass knows where to go. You know, it's like.
Yeah.
But the thing of just relaxing all the attention into it and really trusting it is so discouraged by everything that, like, because they're fastened into this dualistic part of their brain, you know. They don't understand the process of attention. The attention is really currency. It's like, it's more valuable than money, much more. Everybody's trying to get the attention of people, you know. It's like in the arts especially. And I mean, I read this article called "Attention is Attention." You know, it's source consciousness, which is completely free and unlimited. That comes through this little kind of hole, almost like a door in the heart, into this focused kind of beam. You know, it's like, instead of a 360-degree searchlight, it becomes this. Floodlight, like a floodlight. It becomes more like a searchlight, and it's always moving around, and that's okay as long as you can release it back.
Yeah.
In fact, I think that you can learn to, once you've learned how to release it into infinity, and if you can rest there as long as you need to, then you can come back into the attention process and you can create things with it. You become more like a movie projector, you know. So we have the chance to, you know, they're using, I think it's kind of like the midbrain is like the central chip in a computer, you know, like the Intel chip or whatever. And then the Costco is more like the graphics processor and the audio processor of the virtual movie, you know.
Virtual reality.
And and so we have to kind of reclaim our imagination, and then we can, you know, when the light when you are the light, then you're more of a projector. Then you can, when the light is outside you, you're more like a camera. You take in whatever images are there. They're imprinted on your brain, but they're imprinted upside down and backwards. You know, if you remember the pinhole camera thing, you know, and you made in school, the image it only happens when there's a teeny little hole.
Yeah.
Like, get your mind like that, and then it's upside down and backwards. You know, so there's a lot of investment in making us think that the light is outside us somehow. The religions, the politicians, the blah 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 blah.
There's a phrase I love, which is the eyes are useless when the mind is blind.
Yeah.
And anyway, I've just got to kind of wrap up in a little while because we're at the end of our hour. But I'd like to ask a couple of questions about, like, you are open, I'm sure, to collaboration with other people, and so how would people be able to get in contact with you? Do you have a website, an email, that kind of thing? We can link.
We've got a lot of sites. Well, should I just say the links, or how would you?
Yeah, if you say the links.
If you do a Google on our names, especially if you put them both together, Mariana Ingold and Kit Walker, you'll come across a bunch of things, including we have a thing at Bandcamp where all of our music is. We also have a YouTube channel, which is under my name, but it has all of the videos that we've made, and we're going to make a lot more. I'm part of what we're designing is some kind of educational thing about this music thing. I'm not sure how to do it, but I've actually thought also maybe of using this Zoom format to have seminars or whatever, because I don't know, I just feel like we both have some important information to share, and we're sharing it locally with our friends here, but we'd love to, expand it out.
Yeah,
including, and part of our vision is a kind of what we might call like a ceremonio de ser. Ser means being in Spanish, where we would, play with we have a trio, the drummer, with a band and doing like some live active meditations with music, meditation parts, then getting people to sing, getting people to drum and dance and a bunch of things like that, and meditate maybe for a day-long or 2-day-long retreat, combined with maybe some talking or, it's got a lot of different possibilities, and we kind of like to improvise too a little bit,
Sure. So that'll be. I'm sure I will put some links on here of your YouTube channel and how to find.
And we also have websites at our names, kitwalker.com and Mariana Ingold.com.
Can you just spell Mariana's surname?
Ingold.
Ingold. Okay, that's brilliant. Okay, thanks so much, Kit. And a final thing, I guess, would be to say, you're more than welcome to come and visit us here in the.
Great, it sounds fantastic. Yeah, we really. I mean,
you too. Whenever you want,
come to Uruguay. It's an interesting place. There's some great people and great consciousness.
I was lucky enough to travel around South America just over a year ago. And it was the best year of my life, a majestical continent full of magic and beauty, and people were amazing everywhere I went. I didn't go to Uruguay though, so I still have to come back.
Well, you're welcome anytime.
Thank you so much. Okay, and let's do this again. We can
absolutely
plan some interviews and get more information out for people in the future.
Okay.
Excellent. Thanks so much, guys. Pleasure talking to you both. See you soon. Cheers.
Ciao, JJ.
Thank you, JJ. That was really nice.